What's next for Washington's complex and often fraught trade relationship with Beijing? We'll get an understanding of how the U.S. will deal with China in the next couple of hours. That's when Joe Biden's Trade Representative Katherine Tai will unveil the administration's long-awaited strategy for handling relations between the world's two largest economies. She's expected to say Beijing has not honored its commitments under the Phase 1 trade deal signed last year. Ms. Tai will lay out President Biden's initial steps to address the trade dispute. That will include plans to hold talks with China in the coming days. And it's unlikely the use of new tariffs will be ruled out. The Phase 1 trade deal was struck under the Trump administration. It called for Beijing to boost purchases of U.S. farm and manufactured goods, energy and services until the end of this year. Mr. Biden initially described Mr. Trump's tariffs on Chinese imports as harmful. But just last week, his administration called them an effective tool. Simon Marks joins us live from Washington, D.C. for more on this. Simon, Joe Biden has been tight-lipped about his plans. How different is his stance likely to be from the Trump administration?
Well, I think that is the big question, Stephen. This is the day everyone has been waiting for in terms of US-China policy, because remember that the Biden administration, when the president was sworn in back in January, effectively kicked the can down the road and said that it was going to engage in a full review of US-China trade policy and the bilateral relationship more broadly. Now, briefing reporters ahead of Katherine Tai's speech here, US officials indicated that there's certainly going to be no softening in the stance that was taken by the Trump administration in most areas. It's evident that Katherine Tai is going to accuse the Chinese of failing to live up even to the Phase 1 trade agreement that was struck with the United States, pointing to the fact that the latest figures show that up until August, China only purchased 62% of the goods that it was pledged to purchase from the United States. There was talk of the concept of a Phase 2 trade deal being removed from the table. A little bit of daylight in there for some American companies who we think are going to be told that there will be circumstances under which they will be able to apply for exemption from some of the tariffs that are in place, although we don't know the terms of that application process or what the timeline for that looks like. But Katherine Tai clearly not abandoning in any sense the protectionist avenue on which Donald Trump put the United States while he was president. And it's evident that this is going to be a continuing approach to US-China trade from this administration that it inherited from the last.
And given what you're saying about the US sort of sticking to its guns, if you like, there are said to be top-level talks between both sides within days?
Well, she's going to indicate that she is expecting to hold what she's likely to describe as constructive but very frank conversations with Chinese officials over the next few days, talks that clearly are going to be sparked by the speech that she is about to make here. And it's also evident that in at least some of the language that Katherine Tai is using, she's very much parroting phrases that the Trump administration used. One top US official said, "We recognize that China simply may not change, and that we have to have a strategy that deals with China as it is rather than as we might wish it to be." That phrase is sort of ripped directly from the language that people like Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in the Trump administration were using towards China, and it may well be that that is no coincidence.
All right, thanks for getting us up to speed. Simon Marks in Washington, D.C.